This is episode 17 of The Art of Agency, a launchpad for realtors, with me, Jonathan Green, and my co-host,
Mallory Pastor.
And our guest, Joe Herrera. Joe is the broker and co-founder of the Joe Taylor Group, and also the co-founder of Velocity Coaching. He's out in Las Vegas, Nevada. Him and I have known each other for a fair amount of years. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you. You've got a great voice for radio. We were like talking right before you started. All of a sudden, you turn the voice on. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, he does.
I appreciate you not saying I had a great face for radio to start it off. But nah, Joe, it's great to have you. I remember when we met, the first thing I remember knowing about you was your excess of lead generation that you were doing at the time via Facebook. Where did you get started in real estate, and then how did that translate to the marketing expertise?
So I started in real estate before social media even existed. I started in 2001. My goal was, I was a terrible student. I got, barely graduated high school. There's a whole past family trauma that goes into that. But I knew I wanted to be successful. My family history is that of paycheck to paycheck living, debt and everything else. And I was like, I want to do it a different way. So the two choices I saw were real estate and insurance as things that I could do, that I could use my mind and my mouth to create income versus my hands. So I chose real estate because the paychecks are really big. So I was like, if I'm gonna sell something, I might as well sell the biggest product that rational human beings can sell, which is a home. So I started selling real estate in 2001. I did my first transaction by knocking doors. The second house I ever knocked on, guy opened, and I asked him if he would consider selling his house, and he said yes, and we listed the house, and it was the rest was history. So I partnered up with my business partner, Taylor, in 2005. I was the wise old veteran. I was 26 years old. I'd been in the industry for 4 years. So Taylor and I partnered up. I'm trying to condense this as much as I can. Partnered up. In 2010, we started a real estate brokerage. That brokerage, we grew it to about 150 agents, sold it. That moment of selling the brokerage was kind of a what's next moment for us. I had an idea to build a social media application. It was right after Instagram was acquired by Facebook. The application had nothing to do with real estate. It was in the event space. Mm-hmm. And we succeeded in we raised $1 million. We partnered with some of the biggest brands at the time. We were running the event space for, like the Los Angeles Clippers, Adam Carolla, multiple universities, and then one of our key investors / partners was Shaquille O'Neal. So we did that. I did that while Taylor ran our real estate team for 2 years. It ultimately failed. We lost all of our money and all of our friends and family's money that we raised. So in 2014, right before we met Jonathan, got back into real estate, and Taylor and I both looked at each other and said, man, there's got to be a different way to do this. And so we said, if we're going to do real estate, we want to use social media to do it. And it was at that point we kind of kicked off. We hired a company how you and I met, a company called Curator. Their whole premise at the time was, we're going to use your website and Facebook to generate leads for you. That wasn't really what they ended up doing for us. So we started doing it ourselves, and we built a nice career for ourselves off of that.
What was the difference that you guys did in terms of your outbound marketing that helped create better leads? Was it the ads themselves, or was it the way that you responded and what you required, or both?
Well, early on, it was just the fact that we were doing it. Real estate agents are notorious for a couple of things. One of them is making good money. And the second one is they're very risk averse, especially in marketing and advertising. So I would have a lot of agents that would say, well, I don't have listings that are as good looking as yours. And I was like, well, they're not our listings most of the time. They're like, well, whose are they? And we're like, well, they're other agents. And they were like, well, why are you helping other agents? And so it was almost like agents couldn't connect in their mind the fact that we were taking other agents' listings, we were giving the other agent the social validation to be able to tell their client, like, hey, I partnered with these guys and they're going to get 500 likes and 100 shares and 50 comments on your property to help us sell it. So we give them that, but then we do all the data collection of the client. So early days of this, it was just having the best looking listings was winning. Well, at the time, it was all about the fact that we were just doing it at all. And then over time, we've had to tweak our process because, to your point, the easiest thing for me to do is create forced registration leads on Facebook for like $1 a piece.
Yeah.
But the time it takes to weed through those leads, one of the things I wasn't prepared for was lead fatigue, meaning how does it affect an agent when they have to call 100 forced registration leads when 50 of them are bad numbers, 20 of them tell them to go F themselves, and then 10 of them are too busy, 10 of them say they never called in the first place, all to get to that magic 5% that could be converted. Well, we did it for years, but our agents would get too worn out. So now I would say our secret sauce is twofold. Number one, it's consistency. We do it every single week. We're running, 2 to 3 ads every week, and we have for the last 8 years. And number two, it's more about the process. So everyone will say like, well, Facebook leads suck. And I'll just tell them like, don't worry about the placement, worry about the process. So now we don't do any forced registration. Everything we do is human nurtured. So if somebody inquires on a property, we've got our team either locally here or VAs in the Philippines or wherever that are interacting with people, getting their contact information, handing that off to an agent. So what we've done is we've at least eliminated the 50% of fake. We've also probably eliminated the 10% of go F yourselves. And so now what would have been 100 leads for $100 now ends up being, maybe 10 leads for $100, but they're 95% contactable. Yeah, they're way better quality. So now we don't deal with lead fatigue anymore on behalf of the agent. Our cost per lead is significantly 10x what it used to be. Yeah. But our return on investment has actually gone up, even though our cost per lead has gone up, because now we can scale it with agents without burning them out. Because one of my bedrock beliefs is that as a whole, at scale, real estate agents will not call leads. And if you can get them to call leads, they for sure won't call leads that tell them to go F themselves or don't answer.
Right. But Joe, in terms of hiring agents, how are you guys able to find the agents who are going to do the work? We've had a lot of trouble in terms of like, we bring on people who seem motivated, then you just dump a bunch of leads on them and they're like, wow, I didn't know you actually wanted me to call, do all the work for those leads. How are you guys finding those 72 agents who are willing to do the work?
They're not. So the first thing we do is not have any visions or grandeur that they're actually going to do it.
Fair.
So a lot of it is what we try to do is hold certain levels of accountability and diagnose really fast. Like the only thing worse than getting married, having 4 kids, and your spouse being so crazy that you end up getting divorced, like that's the worst case scenario. If you want to improve upon that, try to find out they're crazy in the first month. If you want to improve upon that, try to find out they're crazy before you even get married. So it's like, man, can we diagnose that the person doesn't want to work before they come on our team? Well, Spring Benson, our partner up in Utah, does it by having, she calls it Hello Week, where you come in and work for a week before you actually transfer your license. Yeah. Well, if you're not going to do that, then before you invest a ton of time, money, training, and mentorship into somebody, give them a pre-described amount of work the first week or two with you. And if they're not willing to do that, then be willing to cut ties then. The truth of the matter is we've got the same issues everybody else does. Our turnover rate for our team is probably 30%. If we really want to be a great team, our turnover rate is probably going to be 50%, because we're going to hold people very highly accountable. So we're constantly recruiting. It's a nonstop thing for us. We have a deal with a real estate school here in Las Vegas where we paid $10,000 for 2023 to be able to go to the real estate school. I think it's 3 times a month. So there's new classes that start, and we go to the real estate school, and guess what I say when I'm there? There'll be 20 realtors in the room, or 20 future realtors in the room, and I'll say to them, listen, what you're learning here is irrelevant. 15 of you will fail. 15 of you will not make any money in real estate. Of the 5 of you who make money, 1 or 2 of you will close 2 to 3 deals a year, and you'll be able to take your family on vacation. And the other 2 or 3 of you are going to absolutely crush it. So the other 18 of you guys, disregard everything I'm going to say. I want to talk to the 2 or 3 of you who are actually going to crush it. And then I just say, like, it's going to be hard work. It's going to be late nights and walking out of movies and fighting with your significant other because you take calls during dinner, and it's going to be stress, and it's going to be taking calls at midnight from clients that are freaking out. And it's going to be, I've seen the entire world. Like, think about this. And I tell them this. I come from my mom left when I was 10 because she's a compulsive gambler. I've got 2 brothers that have struggled with drug addiction. My dad, good man, lives paycheck to paycheck. Well, I've seen the entire world. I'm the first multimillionaire in my entire family. So, like, don't think you're going to get what I have unless you're willing to pay the price I'm going to pay. And so it's like, I try to be as gangster as I can up front. And then even then we still have people slip through the cracks because they're not even honest enough with themselves to then be honest with me. And so we try, if we can, to weed out the lazy and the crazy as soon as we can, so that we're not dealing with it 6 months or 8 months down the road.
So you said I always have questions. You said you're constantly recruiting, right? Has that been difficult at all in kind of maintaining like a culture surrounded by the team? Or do you feel that kind of rate of turnover is okay because ultimately, you're going to get to a place where you have all the right people in place?
I have no visions of grandeur that we're ever going to get there. So
that's okay. I love your honesty. It's perfect.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of different ways to run a team. One is teams, depending on your price point. If your price point is $500,000, running a team doesn't really make sense for any production under 50 units. Like, if you're just doing 20 units, just do 20 units. Like, it doesn't make sense to say I'm going to start a team unless you're luxury. Obviously, luxury is a whole different story. Well, if we then say the base level to start a team is 50 units, there's 3 ways to get there. Either 1, do it yourself, which I have zero desire to do. Number 2, go get 2 agents that each close 25 deals a year. That's totally possible. But think about this. If you have 2 agents to do 25 deals a year and your team does 50 units, you have very little leverage in your business. Because if agent number 1 that does 25 deals comes to you and says, like, hey, I'm not happy with my split, what are you going to do? So then way number 3, which is the way I've chosen to do it, is if I say I want the average number of deals done per year from anyone in my world to be 12, I think that that's possible at scale because some are going to do 20 and some are going to do 2. So we're right there. We're at 11 at that point. Then I just try to do it at mass. And so I'm like, I'm never going to get to a point to where I'm like, okay, we've got our squad, let's run. But I can get to a point to where I feel comfortable with the leadership I have in place. And I'm scaling so that the reason we have 70 agents is because we want to do 1,000 deals. So that's like 13 deals per agent per year gets us right there.
Yeah.
So if I want to do 2,000 deals a year, the math becomes very simple. I need to have 150, 160 agents. And so I'm never going to get there, because when I have 150 or 170 agents, my goal is going to be 3,000 deals. So I'm going to need to go get 250. Well, if I understand that my turnover rate is 50%, man, in order to maintain 100 agents, I've got to recruit, 80 agents, not that many. I need to recruit. So think about it this way. If I have 100 agents and I want to maintain 100 agents, 30 of them are going to leave me every year, 30 or 40 of them. So I've got to replace them with 70 or 80, of which 30 or 40 are going to leave, right? So it never stops. But I'll tell you, I was in Minnesota this week speaking at an event. Our team put, our core team here, of those 72 people, I think they put 15 transactions in escrow. I have no idea who the clients are. To some degree, I don't even know the agents very well because I'm kind of removed from team management. And I'm not going to make a ton of money. So it went from 15 deals at $10,000 a commission would generate $150,000 in GCI. When it was just Taylor and I, that means I was going to make 75 minus costs and expenses. Well, now at best, we're going to get 75 of it for Taylor and I to split because the agents are getting 50%. But the reality is we're really going to get maybe 20%. So that 150,000 turns into 30, and then Taylor and I split it. Well, 15,000 doesn't sound wonderful to make up of 15 deals, but when you have nothing to do with the deal's construction, negotiation, or like success, 15,000 is all of a sudden not very bad.